Hi all, I wanted to create this very short, totally unplanned video to respond to some of the things that I've been writing on your documents, your assignments, and I think that there is a significant subset of you, most of you understand what's going on, but there's a significant group of you that I don't think quite understand the unit, and I want to clarify some stuff for you. So first of all, very tiny thing and not the main point of this video is I keep writing on a lot of people's documents, this is not the way a summary is supposed to look, so on and so forth. Summaries, when I ask you to summarize, do have a very particular look. There is an assignment coming up that's supposed to help clarify some of that for you too. You can also Google what a summary is supposed to look like, but summaries have a very particular look, including the fact that the title and the author's name and the main idea of the article you're summarizing all has to fit in the first sentence. So if your first sentence doesn't have the title and the author's name and the main idea, then you are already off to a bad start with a summary. But that's okay. We're going to work on fixing that with the next set of assignments. And when we look through your drafts, I'll see if you're doing that right. Okay, that's a minor thing. The much, much bigger issue that I'm seeing, and I keep writing on people's documents, is that many of you have seemed to confuse summary and analysis, okay? So I'm writing over and over again on some students' documents, this is not an analysis, it's a summary, this is all summary. This is all summary, there's no analysis here, right? So when I say it's a summary, it's because you are summarizing the original author's point. You know, she said, she argues, she explains, then she goes over the three types, then she does this, then she gives a list. You are telling me what the author whose document you read was arguing. That is a summary. An analysis tells me what you think they did well or what you think they did not well, right? Did poorly, okay? And a rhetorical analysis pays specific attention to the rhetorical choices they made. So, for example, did they start with a quote? Okay, if they started with a quote, that's not something they had to do. No one had a gun to their head and said, you have to write a quote in the first paragraph, right? They could have started with a question. They could have started that essay a million other ways, but they started with a quote. So you could say, you know, the way she started with this quote was really effective, or the way she started with this quote was really confusing to me and I didn't think it was effective, right? There are hundreds of things writers are doing, including you. When you write, you are making choices about how many paragraphs to make, right? When you revised your last paper after getting feedback, you made choices about which feedback to listen to and what to do to address that feedback. You know, this person said this was confusing, so how can I fix that? The answer to that was a choice you made, right? Maybe there was two different ways you could have made it less confusing and you chose one of them, right? So when you are analyzing something, you are talking about whether or not a rhetorical analysis, you are talking about whether or not you think it was effective, and you are talking about things they did, like did they use metaphors, did they organize it well, did they use quotes, did you like the quotes, did you not like the quotes, did they use statistics, did you like the statistics, did you not like the statistics. Anything that you see in the document. So you're not saying she argued, she said, then she goes over, because that is a summary. Instead, you are saying she used two different metaphors and I thought they were really good. So here's a paragraph about why I think her metaphors were really good and helped her write a really effective document. And she has three different lists in her document, but I thought the lists were too much. And let me explain why I think the lists actually hurt her, and if she had written in paragraph form, it would have been better. Right? That's a rhetorical analysis. So when I'm saying you're writing a summary, it's because you're only telling me what she said or he said. Sometimes students think they're analyzing, but because they never actually say this was effective because, or I think this is an example of a metaphor, or I think this is an example of good organization, you think you're analyzing, but the words that I need as a reader to understand what we're looking at are not on the page, right? So you have to tell us what we're looking at. You know, like I think she had really good emphasis, or she used really good vocab. She used words I could understand, right? That kind of thing. You have to tell us what we're looking at, and then you have to walk us through, was it effective or not? And you have to explain to us why it was effective or not. You can't just say she used metaphors and they were effective. You, who are doing the analysis, have to analyze her metaphors, for example, and explain why that was effective. Why was that metaphor such a good thing at that moment? if she had done something else instead of that metaphor, why would it have been less effective, right? So that is a rhetorical analysis. Now, a similar problem, but a slightly different problem that I'm seeing is when I looked at your topic proposals, many of you wrote, this document, this article was all about how he or she traveled around and formed her identity based on different places she lived, and I want to talk about how I formed my identity based on places I lived, right? That's not an analysis. You are responding to her ideas, which would be like a reflection, but you're not analyzing how she constructed that article in a way that was so convincing to you. Like, was it effective that she organized the article by each place she lived? Would it have been better if she had woven it together? Is there another way she could have talked about those languages? Were personal stories good? Were the personal stories not good? Right? So think about what the author is doing to convey those ideas, not what they are arguing, but how they are arguing it. And then you walk us through a couple of things that you think they do well, or a couple of things you think they do not very well, and why, okay? That is what this next paper is asking you to do. That is what the last few assignments have been asking you to do. So in the comparative rhetorical analysis discussion board, for example, I wanted you to see how two articles writing about the same thing could look very, very different, right? Even though they're writing about the same thing, those two articles made different choices. And a lot of you got that, but some of you were writing in your blogs basically summaries of the two articles instead of comparing what they look like and their organization and what choices they made, what kind of examples they gave, right? And which one was more effective or not based on those choices, okay? So that's what I want you to know about the next unit as you're drafting your paper for Friday, right? You have some activities for Wednesday, but your draft is due on Friday. And if you have any questions, please, please, please reach out to me. I want to make sure that you understand this, most importantly, because I want you to get a good grade. And I also really want you to learn what I'm hoping you will learn out of this unit. I taught this exact class last semester in Summer A. I did not have as much confusion, but I think maybe with the holiday, wires got crossed or something. So I just wanted to make sure you were all understanding what I was trying to say. But again, if you have any questions, please reach out to me. All right? Happy writing.